finally over. Yay! So I'm very excited to finally get some proper rest as we approach the end of the school year and push through towards the end there. It's very exciting. So, as we get through towards the end of everything here, we get to excitedly head into one of my most favorite fairy tales and hopefully do some interesting different things. I personally love some of the trickster fairy tales and folklore that come out of the continent of Africa. So I am very excited to get to explore some of that with you all here this evening, and I'm hoping that all of you will enjoy it as well, of course. So, with no more fanfare than that, because I don't want to give anything away too much in my excitement, off we go. So last week we left ourselves in a lovely tavern near the spine of the world, listening to some local folklore. And while waiting there, a fur trader comes up to you and says, "Truly, if you seek to help the moon spirit, I know of a smith off in the Hordelands who might be able to help you. But be wary, it has been said that he has gone a little bit mad, and for every true answer that he gives you, he may just give you one that's slightly insane. So be wary, travelers, if you head off into the Hordelands with us today. Things might not be exactly as they appear." And thus, the tale to be told this evening begins as thus. At the advice of the fur trader, you have all headed off into the Hordelands, and you do seek a smith of great renown who is said to be able to assist you in creating any device or magic item, and particularly may be able to tell you how to assist with the moon spirit we encountered a couple of weeks ago. For it was she who was haunting the spine of the world and was causing such dastardly deeds and stealing the breath from travelers. Now, seeking this smith, we have gone into the Hordelands, and it is no safe place there. For many dangerous creatures wander this plain, and the winds bash us to and fro. But we've come a little bit more prepared than the last time we went into a wasteland. We've learned a thing or two since the Ashen Plains. But it is a bit tricky to find someone who is supposedly mad. Is this smith actually mad after all? I suppose we'll have to find out. Eventually, we come across a small bit of shrubbery. And there, nestled within the branches, we find a massive spider. Now, feeling a bit brave, or perhaps a bit too tired, depending on your perspective, we decide to walk up to the spider and ask, "Have you seen a smith about, or perhaps a forge?" And to our own surprise, the spider does yawn and stretches massive jaws and says, "I do know where there's a smith about, but you'll have to help me too. You see, I need something forged too. And I can help forge your magic item if you wish. I know a thing or two about making things. I am a weaver after all. Now, this is what I need. I need a great quantity of iron. And since you're here in the Hordelands, not so far from the spine of the world and the cold lands, I bet you can find it for me. Because I want to make a true man of iron. You can do that, can't you? You can find that much iron for me, oh human travelers. Puzzled, you look at this strange spider. Could this be the smith of great renown? After all, it does seem rather strange and even a bit insane. How weird indeed. And so you head off in search of iron, I suppose. And you look about. But despite your best efforts, the most true great iron you could find was no more than what you would need to forge a great sword. Now, it would be a fine sword if the spider could weave that for you, but it certainly wouldn't make you a man. And how could any of this possibly help you with the moon spirit? Returning to where the spider once was, you offer what you were able to find. Must I spell this all out for you? I needed enough iron to make a man. You need more iron, adventurers. Enough for a man of iron. Not a sword or a dagger or a shield of iron. A man. And so he sends you off on your way, and you try again. Now, across your journey in the Hordelands, you come across a simple traveler. At first, you dismiss him as nothing more than a peddler. You consider trading for some of his items of tin and copper, but after all, it's iron that you seek. But he offers to come with you in your journey. And after a while, you get to talking. He realizes what you seek and he starts to laugh. After all, that much iron in the Hordelands? Really now? You're better off starting off in the Great Sand Sea, seeking items of great renown buried beneath the dunes. You're never going to find that kind of iron here. And so he says, if really what you've encountered is the spider, and that's what I suspect is what you found, the best thing to do to deal with a trickster is play a trick of your own. So here's what you're going to do. Try to collect as much fur as you can and gather up some skeins of water. And tell the spider that truly the greatest iron is made from the ashen coals of burnt fur. And truly it can only be smelted in purest water. And see what he says. Because if you need to bring a man to life from iron, it can only be done thus. And I bet he'd believe you in the end. And perhaps you return to the spider, believing the traveler. And perhaps you go hunting. Maybe you encounter wolf packs. Maybe you catch some rabbits. Maybe you encounter a great bear. That would get you a lot of lucky fur. You could decide what you've encountered on this adventure, what sort of creatures you might have slain. Just remember, it must be a creature with fur. Nothing with scales or feathers will do. Fur only for you today. And when you return, you'll present your furs and your water skeins to that tricky little spider. And he might say, "What's this? What's this? What's this? I asked for enough iron to make an Iron Man. I didn't ask for furs, and I didn't ask for water skeins. What am I going to do with all of this? This is no good to me, after all." But if you explain and the dice gods agree with you, you might just convince the spider what exactly to do. And so, with some help, you'll set a great fire and make a forge. And you'll try to burn all of that fur down into ashen coals. And you'll try to purify it into iron. But of course, can this work? Even the greatest artificers can't turn fur into iron or into coals. And so a small little prank of your own is turned back onto the spider. And perhaps you'll be far away once he figures out this prank you've pulled upon him. And perhaps he will have directed you off towards the smith near the base of the Hordelands. And there you will find the most ancient and wise dwarf, who will laugh at your tale and say, "Ah, truth, that's just Anansi the spider. Never listen to a word he says. More often than not, the tricks he plays are really tricks he learns about himself." And it's true, he will give you the magic item that you need to help the moon spirits. And it may just take you a while to find her again. But be wary, you may have just made Anansi a little bit angry at you. And he may just try to pull a few more tricks up his sleeve and throw them at you on the way back across the Hordelands. But remember, what the smith has told you is quite true. Most of those tricks Anansi plays are a bit like Aesop's fables. They're lessons that he learns about himself. They very rarely come true. Alright. The thing about Anansi's tales is they're very short and sweet. And although I wish they went on and on forever, some of the best stories are short and don't go on for very long. So with that, my dear friends, we're going to jump straight into some watercolor painting, because I'm kind of excited to continue on with this little bit of the mountains that we've started today. It's been hot lately, and I'm dreaming once again of some frosty mountains away off, somewhere far away from the desert I so sadly live in. So with that, let's do a short break to catch some water, and then we'll be right back to it. So how is everyone doing on this Friday evening, late afternoon? I hope you're doing well. I'm just curious who is hanging out with us this evening. Sometimes it doesn't show me. I keep trying to get it to cooperate, but I'm going to try to see if it will show me tonight. Okay, so this is our watercolor that we've been working on from the mountains, and last week it's taken quite the transformation from what I originally showed you all, but ta-da! It looks a bit different, doesn't it? Yeah. So before, it only had like the main rock, and we started like the trees a little bit, and I got a little rock happy. So quite a few more rocks down there, isn't there? Yeah, a lot more rocks. But I put in our little bits of snow, and we have our leaves in there now, and our tree trunk of that tree that's sort of growing on top of the rock, because nature always just kind of finds a way. It just finds a way to hang out there and do what it's going to do, which I think is kind of fun. So we've got that in there. I was originally going to have falling snow, but when I got to that point where I would have added it in, I was like, nah, I kind of like it this way. I'm not going to change anything. So I decided not to. So I've kind of left it like this. So yeah, that was from last week, and it's been kind of fun. All right, so this one's this week. I feel like the music's too loud, so I'm gonna turn it slightly down there. There we go. Okay, so pardon while I get rid of the eternal bunny fluff of Shedding Rabbit, because we keep the weather here, it keeps sort of alternating between these warm, like mid 70s kind of days, and then it flip-flops back to like low 60s and rainy. My poor rabbit, she like doesn't know when to go through her summer molt. She like starts it and then kind of goes, oh wait, it's cold again, never mind, I need my fur. And then it'll get warm again, and she's like, oh yes, get rid of it, it's time for summer. And then it'll get cold again, and she's like, nope. And so I keep the shed is just, it's everywhere. And it will be for a while. It's a mess. Anyways, okay. So I'm going to try to, this is going to end up being like a little bit of sort of like a water bank in here. So I'm going to start defining that just a little bit here. I think I'm going to use this brush. I don't really have like a great defining brush, sadly. I need to pick one up. It's on my to-do list. It's just that the closest art store to me is like an hour away, and I don't really want to drive that far. It's unpleasant to have to get that far. It's not my favorite thing, especially since it's North County, and I just don't want to have to go all the way up that way. Okay, because I am doing this hillside over here, and I want a nice little bit of an edge, I'm going to just go at a slight angle. And then I'll turn it back for you all in just a moment. I don't know how many of you can hear the music clearly, but I feel like this is too ethereal and I need to change it. It's kind of annoying me. It's like, this is not church. Huh. Don't like it now. At first I was like, oh, this is kind of nice and zen. Now I'm like, ugh. I randomly hear cricket noises in the background though. Hold on. Church music with crickets. Let's try that. Okay, that's better. That was so random. Okay. I must have had a reason for mixing that sound together. I can't think of what it might have been though. So strange. Random cricket noises. You can't tell I'm a little caffeinated. Just deal with it, okay? Sorry. And on that note, I think I saw that Corey and Cameron are possibly here with us tonight. So how are you all doing? I hope well. And are not too annoyed with my slightly hyper self at the end of testing here. Okay, I'm starting to blot in some shrubbery. I always like to say it the way my art teacher did it. She was Irish, and she always said shrubbery. I like to say it how she did. Little bits of shrubbery. Okay. We're gonna do layers of shrubbery. We're gonna have like trees and stuff. This would be good. Little shrubbery. Do happy little tree. Oh yes, this music's much better. I should have just picked this at the beginning. Psh, what was I thinking? Zen now. I feel zen. Do you all feel zen? It's kind of funny sometimes the things that will like wind us up and the things that will like calm us down. Just interesting to me. I realize that this is still crooked. You all can always just call me out, I don't care. Be like, Chelsea, are you aware that your painting's still crooked? No, actually. I hadn't noticed. I'm gonna do some compression and sit a little bit differently as I continue to turn it crooked. I'm sorry, it's a crooked day. I think we're all just gonna have to deal. These are going to be really tall because I'm going to want some shrubs like down here on this bank. And then I'm going to leave this to kind of dry so there's like layers of stuff. What I'd really like is if I could spray, but I don't know if I have a free blocking card open here. I don't think I brought one. So that it has like this kind of blending mist to it. I don't know if I have to think of how I would block. How would I block? Because I can't block. Maybe I could. Nope, that's dirty. I guess I just use my hands. Oh, I know. I know things. Oh, hey Cameron, did you ever go, this might be too strong. I could be making a mistake, guys, we don't know. Did you go, disc golfing today, or was that going to be tomorrow? That was going to be tomorrow, right? I don't know. It's been a long day. Asking about disc golf. Disc golf-ing, or just disc golf? Now I want to know. I'm gonna Google that later. The intricacies of English vernacular. I need to know. Blending, blending, da 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 da. Okay. There we go. That's why. I must have bumped the camera when I got up to get water. I was like, why is it crooked? Never mind. You know you're tired when. Trying to think. Let's do some of this. Oh, that's a book. I was like picking up the book going, where's my watercolor? Something tells me this is gonna need to end a little early today. I'm like not even thinking straight. Sometimes I think proctoring the tests is just as hard as taking them, which I know is silly. The kids work so hard on the tests. But there are days I come home and I'm just like not functional. And my mom's just like, you literally sat in a room and stared at teenagers, like, what's wrong with you? And I'm just like, can't explain. Don't have words to explain. Why I can't think straight. Yeah, that looks like a cool looking rock. I like not really defining what my rocks are going to be like before, and then just sort of picking out where they're going to be and what they're going to look like based on sort of where things puddle. I don't really know how to explain it. But sometimes you can make the watercolor puddle in a certain way when you're doing it, and then you sort of pick out where you want your rocks based on where your puddles kind of ended up. And you go, oh, that's kind of a cool looking puddle spot. Here, let's make it be a rock. And then you kind of add dimension into it, and then you kind of layer in more puddles, and then you darken up those puddles, and oh, now your rock has like shadow and shading and stuff. I kind of like doing it that way. Sometimes I'll even use that trick on tree trunks, because it can be so hard sometimes to instinctually know where your tree trunks are gonna have, like, can't think of what the word for, my brain was like veins. Like the trees don't have veins. Rings, where the rings and the bark's gonna lie and whatnot. It can be hard to like want to do that instinctually, and then sometimes our brains just put stuff where it doesn't look right. So unless you have like a tree in front of you and you're painting like in a plein air setting, sometimes it can be hard to set stuff up in a way that makes any sense. So sometimes I'll just let things puddle and then come back in later and be like, oh, well, now that one's a knot. And then this one's not a knot. I made a joke. Sorry. I get one pun, okay? Get one stupid pun. That was my stupid pun. And so I'll do kind of the same thing with rocks. I'll just let things puddle and come back in and be like, well, this puddle's a rock. And then that puddle's a different rock. Sorry, I don't have any rock puns. I'm out of puns now. Or sometimes it can be like a reflection in the water too, because the water will definitely take on, you know, that brown a little bit and not just be a darker hue, depending on the light that's going on. Just kind of depends. Stuff is fun. I'm like on a rock kick lately. Don't know why, but I've been really into rocks. I feel like almost everything's had some kind of a rock on it lately. Just really into the way rocks move, I guess. Rocks don't move. The light on rocks, I don't know. It's hard to explain. They're just fascinating. Certain natural features are fascinating. Okay, we're gonna put something in here. Do. Ooh, yeah, the way that puddle was kind of fun too. That's too dark for me. I want to lighten that a little bit. You all are very quiet today. Are you as burned out as me? I feel like we're all a little burned out now. This might turn into something else later. I haven't decided. Shoo, whatever weird thing that was. Oh, I think I just squished a bug. Oops. I squished a bug. Awkward. Okay. Ignore the fact that I just squished that. Sorry, guys. Sorry, little guy. But you were in my watercolor, and I thought you were a bunny hair. I was outside in the rain for part of today. It's that weird, like, we call it June gloom, but it's May. It came early this year. So I was out in it for part of the day, supervising some kids, and my glasses are very smudgy. I haven't had a chance to clean them off yet, so. Sorry, bug. Kinda on you. You landed on things you oughtn't to have. Whoops. It is what it is. Okay. Alrighty. And while that's happening, I think I'm just take a little more of this purple. The other day I was kind of going in with the clouds and just sort of like smudging in bits of purple to try to like give it a little more dimension. And I'm going to do that a little bit more and just sort of deepen that up, but only in some spots, not as much as I did before. I just wanted a little bit of contrast. Don't want it to puddle though. Yeah, that's okay. To between like the gray clouds of the sky and sort of the gray of the mountains, and I just didn't feel like there was enough contrast in there. Oh, jeez. Weird. That was weird. Why was there so much purple on my brush? I clearly dipped it into the watery part too. Interesting. Huh. There must have been just like a small pocket that hadn't washed out or something. Sometimes with the darker colors you just can't see. That is like the one downside of using this kind of a palette, is that it does kind of like, you can't see what you're doing as much. I've always wanted to get one of those big flat ones, but they're expensive. Yeah. It's one of those like, well, if things ever take off more in the Artlands, then we'll get all the fancy art things. But until then, you do have 10,000 scoop palettes. When my dad was a painting contractor, he'd randomly come home with things from clients who would have them like in their attic or get them donated or inherit them. And they'd be like, oh, could your kids use these or whatever? And he'd be like, yeah, my daughter likes art or whatever. And he'd come home. One time he came home with a shoebox full of just gum erasers. They weren't even like good gum erasers. I don't understand. I still have them though. I keep thinking I'll find something to do with them. I haven't. I've had them like 10 years. Nobody tell my dad, okay? I just hold on to them. I probably should take them to school actually. Not that the art department can really do anything with them because they're like ancient now. But maybe they can be, I don't know, turned into something like, I have to think about it. They're just one of those like random things that you're just kind of like, why do I have 100 erasers now? Like, but you do art. And I'm like, but gum erasers, like, nah. Okay. Parents, they mean well. They don't always understand, but they mean well. Okay, so we got a little bit of purple going on up there. And I might have to switch brushes, but we'll try it. I'm going to put a little bit of water up in here because I need to define some of the stuff that's going on in here. But I don't want it to be totally dry. And we're just going to take a little bit of shocker, Payne's Gray. I know, I've like become a cliche at this point. What did Chelsea use in her painting? Payne's. It's just a great universal base. Okay, and I'm gonna start streaking a little bit because I want to give it that illusion of like stuff's hanging out up here, you know? And we will go in with some white later, really like make it look like snow, but right now we want to get that shadow. So really go in with shadow. And we had some blue in there too. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. The camera often doesn't pick up blue, I noticed. Specifically blue. I don't know why specifically blue. I have to check on that. There is like a tiny baby mountain in here and I don't want to lose it. There he is. Okay. And I didn't put in the water for this one, so I will in a second. Make sure I have something to blend in here as well. And yeah, that's gonna look cool. He's blending a little bit better on this side. Bloop. Just draw those colors out. Okay, so those are a little bit more defined mountains going on up there. Okay, so how is this? Oh, much drier. Okay, good. All right. Yay. Now I get to do a little bit. I'm just considering I might want to go a little bit bigger. A little bit bigger. All right. So I'm going to start with a little bit of blue and just kind of blot in where I would like my tree line to go for this guy. Because things are going to get pretty dark over here. So I want there to be sort of like an illusion of some stuff. Okay. Some illusion. And while we're here, we're just gonna lightly tap in a little bit more blue here. Not too much. And while this is drying, just a little bit more blue. Okay. Yay. I love when there's like bits and pieces of color and things. Which reminds me that I also wanted there to be like a soft touch of green in here. Just a soft touch, only in the center. And maybe a little bit in here. Soft touch though, soft touch. More shrubbery than anything else. So we're gonna put a lot of dark and it's gonna fade a bit. Not really gonna see that much. It's gonna disappear in a hot second. Just a little bit. Okay. Do. And because this is gonna be a little bit darker, a little bit muddier, I'm gonna kind of put a little green in here to help kind of layer things. I saw that kind of went a little bit farther than I wanted, but that's okay. We're gonna put more blue on it in a second. And I kind of liked how that got a little brown and muddy. So I'm gonna come in and kind of do the same here where things are kind of give it a little bit of shadow, just getting our shadows going. Right. And while we're doing that, we can darken up some of this blue now that we know where things are. Okay. Arrgh. I'm a little worried about getting my sleeve into things, and I don't want to smudge that I don't want to smudge, if you know what I mean. So I'm just gonna bring stuff over this way. Let me know if you all can't see what I'm doing. I am basically just making sure my water got all the way up to these rocks, because I originally didn't bring it that far because I wasn't sure where I wanted my rocks to be, and I didn't, for this particular rock, I didn't want it to be exactly all the way up, or I didn't want it to be looking too underwater. This one I didn't care as much because I knew it was going to get really heavily defined, so it wasn't a big deal because it was going to get really layered. When they're farther away, they kind of need to keep as much as their coloring as they can, so getting layered too much in the blue can be a problem. So I didn't want to have to worry about it, so to speak. Because it can be a bother to go back in and fix it, you know? Some things can be fixed, some cannot. And blue is one of those that's kind of hard to get it back out. Even when you're going over with something like brown. It just don't wanna. Okay. Okay. Clean up that line there. There we go. All right. I'm gonna make sure my wash is exactly how I like it. So I'm gonna take a little bit more in here and just pull it straight down. Really give that illusion. And always trying to pull away straight. And because we still have a little bit of this brown in here, I can kind of do the same thing in here. Trying to keep it as close to those rocks as possible. All right. So we've got a nice wash going on here. Oh, shoot. Notice something, got a little bit of a hair. It's dropped into the water. I'm gonna try to pick it up so it doesn't leave a weird mark, and I think I can wash that out. Not a big deal. There we go. My brush probably just picked up a rabbit hair or something similar along the way. Like I said, my rabbit is shedding. And there's only so much you can do to keep it out of the spaces. If anyone has pets, you understand. So much you can do. Alright. So now that we've got that going on here, I'm going to start building in kind of a little bit of this, I just forgot the word for bank. There we go. The water bank that we've got going on up in this corner. So I'm going to switch to a little bit of a thinner brush here so I can get some trees going on. And I need this palette. Okay. So if you've recently joined, we're working on some snowy mountains. We're building in some shrubbery and whatnot. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it. Yeah. I've been having some fun with trees lately. Trees and rocks and shrubbery and whatnot. I think it's just my way of dealing with the pending summer here in Southern California. Because I very much thinking about dealing. I very much miss winter once it's gone. But, yeah, summer's nice too. It's just, I just don't like heat. So sometimes painting some snowy mountains is a nice way to just kind of embrace your inner winter, I guess. And remember that it will come back again a few months from now. Just have to wait. Okay. Little bits of trees. We'll define them a little bit more, but I want to make sure that they dry fully before I really get into some trees. I'm just sort of blobbing in where I know I want them eventually to be so that I know where my forms are. And it will shock no one that yes, I'm using Payne's Gray. It's a winter color. Ooh, that one came out nice. Maybe I'll leave that one on its own. I like that one. Move this one over a little bit. That one was fun. And I'll put this one a little bit farther back as we get closer to the edge of that bit of a clearing there, because I want it to look like we've got multiple blanks going on. Let's kind of blob those in. Blobby blobby. Maybe a little tiny one there. Okay. And while I'm here and feeling blobbish, I'm going to start doing a little more thickly back here. And depending how I'm feeling as things start to dry and form, I might not actually do much more back in the back, simply because these are supposed to be pretty formless. There's just not much to them back here. They're just so far away. They're just little blobby guys. Little wisps off in the trees, so to speak. Except they're literally trees. So yeah. Just my little friends saying hi back there. Like they do. ones. I like when there's little ones. Okay. I think there needs to be some taller stuff over in here too. Do 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 do. Yeah. He's happy. Happy. Okay. So that's gonna have to like majorly dry it. So I'm gonna come back in and start looking a little bit more at those rocks. They did some interesting blobby stuff. I'm seeing some more rock formations in here. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so back to my little brush. All right. Mixing up a little bit. It's almost too dark. It's better. Okay. So I'm kind of seeing a secondary rock in here a little bit that I think I can kind of draw out, because this is sort of like a rock pile. Whole pile of rocks hanging out here. And then I'm gonna start like lining things. Because I kind of like how this one ended up. Got some interesting shapes going on in here. I can tell that this is still a little too damp, but I think we'll be okay. I can actually like that one. Come out a little bit. Probably gonna have to make that dark now, but we'll see. I think this can be a rock. Do. There's so much fun when you get to add little tiny bits of detail. I love adding in little bits of detail with my rocks. That's a fun part. We're not there yet. Sorry, it's hard to talk and line at the same time. It is a work in progress to learn how to do that. Ooh, actually, yeah, I kind of like having another rock here. Okay. So then I'm going to come over with some of this darker stuff and start working in on this. This is going to be a much bigger project, getting this big rock like I can be all kind of blech with that one and just sort of be like la 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 abstract, but this one's gonna need like all kinds of detail stuff going on here, so I'm gonna be a little more careful with him. Just let things kind of dry how they want to, and then use that to my advantage here. Just slowly work on stuff, because it's going to take more time, I think. Layer after layer. Slowly. Yeah. blend some of these lines. Ooh, that looks cool. Make things a little more speckled here. Now that it's kind of starting to set. That's kind of fun about rocks, is making them look like, well, rocks. I know, I'm a dork. But I'm a cute dork, ha ha ha. Okay. Yes, that needed to edge out a little bit. Okay. I think we're at that point in the evening once again where I do need to let things dry themselves out. Or whisk some weirdness. What a weird line happened over here. How did that happen? I don't think I even got that wet. I'm just nitpicking at this point. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry, and then we shall see what we shall see. So yes, thank you for hanging out with me this evening with my little rock guys and my mountains. And I do wish some of these treacherous stories were longer because they're some of my favorites, but they are so enjoyable and there's so many of them. I hope you all will go look up some more Anansi tales. And even if you don't, but you do enjoy treacherous stories, maybe check out something by Neil Gaiman called Anansi Boys, because he took some of those stories and made something really cool. And I hope you'll go look up that at least, because it's very enjoyable, if I do say so myself, which I do. And next week, I don't know where we're headed next, but we're going to do some more folklore mix and matches and see what we come up with. And we'll figure it out. We'll do something fun. From there, we don't know. This weekend for side quest, I'm hoping to do on Sunday, and possibly we'll finish up this painting together. You never know. Otherwise, we might do some more bookmarks. I know, we're probably pretty sick of watching me do bookmarks. But otherwise, give me some ideas. Check us out on Instagram and tell me what you think we should do next for side quest, or even where we should go next for folklore. We're heading east, not west, east around the southern hemisphere. So we could very well keep going through the African continent, or we could just hop to the next continent in Australia. Tons of amazing folklore over there. Haven't quite made up my mind yet. Plus, New Zealand, always cool stuff happening over there. Just too many choices. Choices make it hard. All right, but without further ado, thank you for hanging out with me tonight. I will definitely catch you either this weekend or next week. You all are always an amazing audience, so no matter what happens next, don't forget to feed your inner mimic and have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.